apply. So I'm on our way back home from a festival, No Bind. So during one workshop, we worked with IFS, internal family systems. So if you're not familiar with internal family systems, it's about working with the inner parts of yourself. So your personality consists of different parts. You have a firefighter, part of his personality that comes up during stressful situations when something needs to be done quickly, right? Then you have the inner wounded child part of yourself that's unhealed still, that needs to be healed. You have the manager inside of yourself that maybe manages your social interactions with people. The protector. You have different parts. You can give them different names. And during this workshop, we did a meditation to come into contact, to address issues within ourselves. So during the meditation, we relaxed and asked tried to see what was begging for attention inside of us. What came up was, as it often does, the inner child came up and wanted attention, and of course I attended to my inner child's needs. But the interesting part that was behind my inner child, a dark figure was lurking. A shadowy figure. I couldn't see his face, and he didn't want to reveal himself to me. And but from the look of it, I could see he was a bit older, more mature person. He was not a child, and he didn't feel so much trust towards me. He was, as I said, was hiding and kind of being skeptical to my abilities, I think. So I was intrigued by this, and during another workshop, I want to explore this further, and I came into contact with an inner state of myself, represented by some glue. Some gooey stuff, some slime, was inside of a rusty old barrel, and it was pure darkness. It was something, very shameful and very nothing you wanted to dip your hands in. And the facilitator asked me to ask it a question, to see what it wanted, what it asked me for, what its needs was. And I couldn't actually talk to it, couldn't communicate, but I could have a feeling of what it was representing. And I think it felt like it was unworthiness and shame. And so I have now, since this last workshop, I have during my car ride back home, I have thought about it and how I should what's needed for me to heal this. So yeah, it's been interesting. But the reason for me making this video is to address this issue in A Course in Miracles. I think you often think about how to forgive your brother and how to show love to others. But I think that the brother in the book is not always representing someone outside yourself. Sometimes you are the brother. So you have to remember that your identity is not who you are, your personality. It consists of parts, but it's a creation that you develop during your lifetime. So your personality, or what you are used to call your identity, the ego conviction that I have been talking about before. Your personality is just, it consists only of defense mechanisms to cope with your life. That's how you became who you are. And so your identity is just a tool to navigate in your life, to get by. So it's not who you are. So you're one brother amongst many. So sometimes forgiveness is not meant to be towards someone outside of your body. It's meant to be towards yourself, towards your identity. So in the interplay of personalities who are interacting and having conflict sometimes, it's not always meant, the forgiveness is not always meant to be to the other. Sometimes it's meant to be to yourself. So let's make this concrete with an example. So let's say someone asked me for a cigarette. I'm not a smoker on a daily basis, but sometimes I have a cigarette. And let's say someone has asked me for a cigarette, and if you have a naive approach of A Course in Miracles, you will then maybe immediately think that you need to give the cigarette to your brother to show love, to show forgiveness, but I mean that sometimes it's meant to be towards yourself. So you have to say no to your brother. And so you have to remember what forgiveness means. So forgiveness, it's not always... forgiveness means allowance. So to forgive someone is to give allowance to that person to be as they want to be, as they wish to be. So when I forgive, I give freedom to someone. And that freedom, I sometimes need to give to myself. I need to forgive myself. Give allowance to me to behave as I wish to behave. So, because I think if you always are considering other persons and forgetting yourself, you will never forgive truly. It's not a true yes to someone. To say yes in a true sense to someone, the no needs to be an option. Because a yes without the option of saying no is an obligation. And the obligation is not a yes. An obligation is forced. An obligation is led by fear. You always demand something from someone when there is fear in the picture. And fear is the opposite of love. Love can only flourish in freedom. So therefore, it's very important to say no. It's like breathing. You say no, you consider yourself, and sometimes you exhale, you say yes to someone. You have to have this continuously in your system, in your daily life. Always start with yourself. To give yourself love before you give someone else. So, yeah. And you remember yourself. Because this is the issue, I think, with the spiritual path, the spiritual, you who are wants to be spiritual awakened. You have to start with the healing of yourself. So there's two ways to spiritual awakening. Carl Jung's way of spiritual awakening and the Buddha way of spiritual awakening. The Buddha way is meditate and to go inwards and accepting the moment, perceiving the moment as it is without adding anything, removing anything. It's fully acceptance. And then realizing that you're not your body, right? And the Carl Jung way of spiritual awakening is by doing shadow work and integrating the shadows inside of your personality, accepting darkness inside of yourself. So you have to go both. So as I see the model, you start with the shadow work, you start with working with yourself, with inner child wounds, and heal yourself. So you are allowed to be free, to be as you want to be. So Carl Jung doesn't call it enlightenment, he calls it individuation. So you become a fully individual by accepting the darkness inside as well as the light inside of yourself. But that gives you freedom to be as you wish to be. And then when you're free, you can start with the Course in Miracles and the Buddha way of enlightenment. That when you start loving others, so you start looking outside and seeing the illusion, right, of what's going on. Yeah, so that's it. So continue. So if you're just reading Course in Miracles, go and do some shadow work as well. Everyone has to. Bye.